I like your photographs. Thank you. That was my husband's father.
It will never stop raining. Oh dear.
Walter, this is Helga Brown.
Oh, I've not had the pleasure.
We've never met. Mr. Rothstein, I am here because your grandfather and my grandfather knew each other.
Hello, from the deli in Brooklyn? I've heard some pretty funny stories about that place.
No. Your grandfather on your mother's side.
I never knew my grandfather on my mother's side. He died in a concentration camp during the Holocaust. My mother was fortunate enough to make it out alive.
I know.
She spoke about it only once.
My father looked at me and told me that I could not go where he was going. And I started to cry because I didn't want to be separated from him. He whispered to me, "Be strong." A guard took me away from him, and I never saw my papa again. I was 7. His only crime was being a Jew.
She died last year. Was your grandfather at Auschwitz?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I believe this belongs to you.
Did your grandfather make it out of the camp?
My grandfather was an SS officer at Auschwitz. Your grandfather gave that to my grandfather so that your mother would not have to die in the gas chamber with him. My grandfather took many bribes from prisoners. After he was killed in the war, my grandmother and mother said we would never find peace until we returned everything that belonged to those families. My mother died last year. The last thing she said to me was, "Finish our job." And I'm happy to say that this was the last item that was taken from an inmate at Auschwitz. I'm so sorry for what my grandfather did. He was not an evil man, but he was a man who went along with other men who did evil things.
My husband and I want to thank you for the trouble you went through to find us and for wanting us to have this back in our family.
You are welcome. Maybe I should go.
Did you know that this is sometimes called the hand of Miriam?
Yes. Miriam was Moses' sister.
Many Jews believe that the 5 fingers of the Hamsa are to remind us to use all 5 of our senses to praise God. And they represent the 5 books of the Torah and symbolizes the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Hey, which is one of God's holy names. I've often wondered where God's hand was when so many innocent people were suffering and dying during the Holocaust.
During this time that I have spent finding families to give back what my grandfather took from them, I have experienced many different feelings. Shame at what he did, and sorrow for so much suffering caused by prejudice. and a sense of peace by returning these things to the families where they belong. Perhaps it was the hand of God that kept your mother alive and made it possible for you to be born. Do you know the hymns of prayer?
Let no sadness come through this gate. Let no trouble come to these walls.
Be strong.
Let no conflict be in this place. Let this home be filled with the blessing of joy and peace.
My wish for you, Walter, and for anyone who believes that different beliefs can only create enemies. My family and your family have seen firsthand how beliefs can be manipulated into a legacy of hatred.
I wish it were so simple. I am a Jew because of my beliefs. And it is those same beliefs that make me a target for anti-Semites all around the world. It has been that way long before you and I were born. It will most likely be that way long after we're gone.
There will always be some people whose minds cannot be changed. But know, on this day, in this room, that the granddaughter of a Nazi SS officer and the grandson whose grandfather was killed in that same camp were able to sit down without malice and talk together about things so extremely painful to both of us. Shalom, Walter. Thank you.
Peace between people with different beliefs begins with one kind gesture at a time, with the foundation of tolerance. Shalom.